Everything that is fueled today will be fueled by algae-based fuels instead of petroleum-based fuels. I believe.
Amazing,
I really,
amazing.
truly believe that. You wanna know why? Think about the petroleum infrastructure around the world, all over the world. All these pipes and, and refineries and all, right? All of that will be able to be used. We're just gonna feed it with algae oil instead of petroleum oil.
Welcome back to the AI Edge podcast, where we talk with commercial real estate leaders who are also technology, capital, strategy to create real returns and real impact in the real world. Today's guest is at that intersection of all three. He is the founder and CEO of Green Street Global, a climate technology company that helps commercial property owners decarbonize their buildings while cutting operating costs, boosting NOI, and increasing asset value, often with no out of pocket cost. He has been a pioneer in green building for more than 3 decades, found one of New York City's first green building companies, and has chaired multiple sustainability focused initiatives, including the New York State Sustainable Business Task Force and the Manhattan Chamber of Green Buildings Committee. Today, his team at Green Street Global is delivering AI-powered solutions that combine climate tech, curated financing, and vendor marketplaces for multifamily, healthcare, hospitality, senior living operators, turning decarbonation into financial win. Robert, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Great. We're very, very excited to have you here also. So when somebody asks you, Robert, in plain English, what do you do? How do you answer that today?
In commercial real estate, we turn growing low carbon mandates and liabilities into opportunities to upgrade buildings into the 21st century in terms of energy and financial performance, employee performance, and ultimately financial performance of the asset. Because in the end of the day, that's fundamentally what our value proposition is all about.
That's amazing, Robert. So I like that. So how did you get there? From the early green building in New York to leading a climate tech and financing platform for commercial real estate.
It's been a long journey. I started my first Green Street company in 1998, doing environmental remediation work. I was working at an environmental engineering firm. I left the firm. I partnered with these two other folks. That was my first foray into entrepreneurship. Anybody looking to get into entrepreneurship, please, by all means, you need to reach out to me. I've got a lot of knowledge and wisdom to bring to your venture. I can save you a lot of headaches and heartaches along the way. But I started a first company, an environmental companies, mostly for residential clients with two other partners. We did that for about a year. They moved on. I continued forward doing environmental remediation work, which is what had been doing at this environmental engineering firm. Indoor environmental issues, lead paint, asbestos, mold, abatement and removing of these environmental issues. And after doing that with my own company, bootstrapping it all, not knowing much at all about entrepreneurship and business development and sales and marketing, and not knowing nothing about AI back then, of course, after about a year and a half of doing lead paint abatement and mold abatement, which brought me into all kinds of crazy, nutty situations, the likes of which I don't want to recount, but part of what was putting hair on my business chest, so to speak. I learned about green buildings and fell in love with the concept because if you were to open me up, you would find one part is passionate environmentalist and the other part is passionate real estate developer. And so we got an opportunity to work on a first green renovation project in it was around 2000, way before there was LEED and U.S. Green Building Council. And interestingly, I was working under a different company name, and the project was on Green Street in Lower Manhattan, which is where I came up with the name for the company of Green Street, which was originally Green Street Construction. It's now Green Street Global. So to kind of, truncate that long history, we did general contracting, a lot of high-end green renovations. We worked on the penthouse at 1 Fifth Avenue for the founder of Aveda. That was a quite a crazy experience, let me tell you. But it was like the first one of the first green renovations in New York City. We've worked on the first green townhouse project in New York City. We worked on the first installation of a solar PV installation that was grid tied. We did the first of that in New York City. We did the first LEED certified restaurant in New York City. So we were always kind of, at the leading edge and doing mostly general contracting, construction management, all with green building expertise. And fast forward to 2019, and that's when New York City passed what's called Local Law 97, which was a law, the first of its kind, aimed at lowering carbon emissions from commercial buildings. It was the first time in my entire career, which at that time was about 18 years in the business, when there was actually going to be legislation behind my back, so to speak, wind behind my back, because up until that time, I was fighting, pushing the boulder up the hill. Green was thought to be hippy dippy, or it was thought to be more expensive, so I used to say, substitute the word smart for green, because when you do a green building the right way, you have a smarter, higher performing, better building, right? So I used to say, put the word smart for green, because who can argue against smart? So when Local Law 97 was passed, I basically began transitioning from the general contracting and real estate development that we were doing to take this program I had been working on, a green building upgrade program, and evolving it to help buildings to comply with Local Law 97. So we basically kept our general contracting and construction management core service that we were offering, and we started to add different components to be able to provide a turnkey one-stop solution for these building owners. So the first issue we had to contend with was the first cost issue. The first cost issue, which is what we were hearing a lot of when I was the chair of the New York State Sustainable Business Task Force, was I've got this fantastic green building product or service, and I keep getting denied by clients. They're saying no to it. And what we found almost always was that the product or service would almost certainly save the client money in their operations. But from a capital perspective, it would cost more money up front to buy the product or service. So it was the first cost problem. So I had needed to solve the first cost problem. So what I developed was a cost saving solutions program. That's one of the main components we added. So we now today have a series of partners who work under the same model of a shared savings model, doing an initial audit, finding opportunities across an entire spectrum of over 60 different cost centers to find savings, usually on the order of 20 to 30%, sometimes upwards of 40% savings. And this then, starting out on a shared savings model, was a good way of cracking open the door of gaining, attraction and trust from the client, creating essentially a joint venture partnership to work with them and to upgrade their buildings, which is a long journey, right? So we brought this cost saving solutions program, added some new vendors, and it's very exciting what we can offer today with no upfront cost to get started with our cost saving solutions program. After that first phase, typically where we're saving thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, we move into phase two when we actually work on the building. This is what we've been doing for years, the general contracting and the construction project management. So the difference though now is we deploy our cost saving solutions program. Then when we get ready to work on the building, we will develop a plan, a building upgrade plan to make the building much more energy efficient, greener and more energy efficient, right? So, and by the way, this component we are now doing conventionally, working with engineers to pull together a plan. But where we're headed as we build out our AI powered platform is an AI generated building upgrade planning component
Incredible.
where AI will be, first of all, doing machine learning with all the other green upgrade, low carbon projects around the world, hopefully tracking those, embedding all that machine learning so that our solutions grow in time and become the best overall solution possible to upgrade buildings. So that's where the AI comes in. That's where we're headed. We're just beginning the process of building out our platform. So phase two, we get the program together, then we bring all of the team, all the different vendors and subcontractors, which is what we've been doing for 20 some years when we were a general contractor. We take them from our marketplace of vetted green building vendors bring them into our team where we then manage the process. So that's another component bring. Then we bring 100% financing. We can finance all the soft costs and hard costs of the upgrade of the building. And the way the program works is that the cost savings is greater than the finance costs. So you have a zero net cost upgrade, right? So that's phase two. Now in phase two, we're actually making the building more efficient. As we make the building more efficient, we lower its use of fossil fuels. When you lower the use of fossil fuels in the building, you decarbonize the building. You lower the amount of carbon being emitted from that building. So decarbonization comes as a free added value component to our overall business model, right? So phase one is cost savings. Phase two is the green building upgrade with 100% financing. After we make the building more efficient, phase three is adding clean power technologies to a building that's already more efficient so that any technology that we invest in for the client is going to have the highest overall productivity, right? Because they're working on a more efficient building. That's our core green building upgrade program that we offer to clients, and our targets are usually hotels, hospitals, assisted living, nursing homes. It can be private schools. It's wherever the owner of the building also has an operating business in the building. That's when we can bring the most value. But where we're headed with this is acquiring our own properties, starting with hotels, and then integrating our green building upgrade program into our development project to optimize the value of our own holdings. So that's where this is all coming together, along with the platform and marketplace that we're building out. So that's really the core of our programming, our company, where it's at. We are we are poised for a very, very large, big step forward.
That's exciting. Wow. That's amazing work. You're absolutely incredible, Robert. So you have Green Street Global. You have decades of leadership in green building space, and you're working with owners, operators, and technology partners. Where do you spend most of your time today inside of the business?
It's interesting you say that because the most compelling offering in our marketplace is a transformative, carbon negative, truly renewable green energy venture that is driven by algae, the commercial growth and production of algae for crude algae oil production to power generators. This crude algae oil also can be refined into clean aviation fuels and shipping fuels. There are also animal feed and fish feed and fertilizers from these biofarms. And these biofarms are very profitable, and they are the most powerful decarbonization machines that available to human civilization today. That's how potent, how remarkable this venture is. So I'm spending a lot of my time on this because for the growth of the company, what we mostly need is stable, long-term stable passive income, multiple streams. So that's what we're going to be doing with these biofarms. They're going to be very, very profitable for us. And, and once they're up and running and developing, it's going to be passive income every year. We're going to probably be developing thousands of these around the world, or at least hundreds, and that will get us. We won't need investors anymore, which is frankly, which is the best investors of. I'm sorry, some of my best friends are investors, but if you're an entrepreneur and you can possibly get your rocket fuel to launch your company without having to go to investors, it's always 100% better.
That's a game changer.
I shouldn't say always. If you're going to get outside investors, get investors that bring synergistic value to the table. So not just money. They've got network, they've got intelligence, they've got, so they're going to literally help grow the company, not just take profits from, right? Then that can be good if it's synergistic. But otherwise, if you're just taking money just to get money, guaranteed you'll have issues that will make things much more difficult for you. So if you can avoid it, I highly recommend it.
That's amazing. Absolutely incredible. I actually have never heard of the farms that you were talking about. So, do you currently have these up and running? Do you currently have, how many do you have?
So we are in the process of developing projects in Houston. We're working with a property owner down in Houston. He's an oil and gas executive who's been looking for this algae option for years now. And after working with him for a while, we've gotten him fully on board. He's very excited. He's signing up as a partner of ours. So we're now raising money for those biofarms. He's got 2,200 acres of land outside of Houston. Great location. So that's in process. We're working with a property owner in Suriname. They're a third generation family that moved down from the Netherlands. They own 50,000 acres, the very northern tip of the country, right by a port. So perfectly located. So we're in discussions with the property owner for starting to develop algae biofarms there. We're in discussions with a group out of India. They own significant tracts of land in India, and they've got extensive contacts throughout Africa. So they own land, extensive land in India, in southern India. So we're in the early stages of hopefully developing 10 biofarms with them as our first step. And
Go.
what I'm very, very super excited about is for Africa in particular, because this can help Africa to basically sort of jump, take a big leap beyond what the Western civilization did to develop, right? Western civilization used dirty fossil fuels to, grow economically, right? Now they're starting to transform, but along the way, the hundreds of billions of tons of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, a lot of that was from Western civilization developing into these modern economies. Africa is just is really at the beginning of an amazing period of time. And this could be absolutely hugely transformative. The jobs it creates, each biofarm creates about 300 full-time jobs.
Really? Wow.
So this is going to be then we're going to be developing cities that are going to be founded on this technology that are going to employ, hundreds of people. Those people, we're going to develop housing for them. We're working with a Chinese company that has a commercial modular building technology that can be built really quickly, very low carbon. So we'll provide housing when you got employment and housing, then you need to build grocery store and schools, right? And so then you've got the beginning of growing out a city. And so we're going to be developing, eco cities in Africa with this technology. This is what I'm going to spend most of the rest of my life. This is my passion and my mission and what I love.
Incredible. So how does one develop a biofarm, an allergy biofarm, and how exactly does it fuel this the
So yeah. So um, first of all, algae are the most productive photosynthetic plant cells in the world. Algae are 900 times more what's the word? More productive at decarbonization, removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, 900 times more effective than trees. Algae are the root of the entire ocean food chain. Every single organism in the ocean ultimately derives from algae because algae photosynthesize. Algae takes this energy from the sun, absorbs all the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and binds together these carbon dioxide molecules to make larger organic molecules, which are the foundation of all of our food, right? So that's what algae do for the entire ocean. The largest, grandest whales in the ocean derive their life ultimately from algae. Everything. So, and there's trillions of algae around the world, and they reproduce in 24 hours.
wow.
So truly renewable. So algae, like in our farms, will be creating these compounds, and these
Okay.
these compounds with multiple long chain carbon dioxide, long chains of carbon dioxide molecules create oils. All oil, petroleum oil, palm oil, all oils are ultimately made from photosynthesis, where carbon dioxide molecules are bound together into a long chain, and that long chain is what makes the oil. So algae make algae oil, crude algae oil. But when it's first made, it comes out as a kind of a slurry, right? So what you do then is you separate the oil from the solids. So the crude algae oil, and then what's called the algae cake. That's the solids part. From algae oil, we can inject that into generators from companies like Hyundai and Caterpillar that make generators that can take crude algae oil, burn it to produce renewable power, electricity. And it's carbon negative because most of the carbon dioxide that gets absorbed goes into the solids. It doesn't go into the oils. So when you burn the oil, some carbon dioxide is released, but a lot less than is absorbed. So it's actually carbon negative and it's renewable. And so that's how we produce the oils. We can take those oils, just like they do with petroleum oil, we can take the crude algae oil and refine it. And we can refine the crude algae oil into shipping fuels, renewable shipping fuels, and renewable aviation fuels. And these two sectors are starting to transition to low carbon, and there's a massive demand, especially for aviation fuels. So we're going to be selling a lot of that crude algae oil to produce aviation fuels for the airlines. And then the shipping fuels will go to the big shipping companies. So get this, one cargo ship coming from Shanghai to New Jersey, one cargo ship will emit as much carbon dioxide as 20,000 cars over the course of a year.
Ah, disgusting.
So, it's just too bad we can't see carbon dioxide. If we could see it and our atmosphere was dark yellow, people would be screaming and yelling, right? But
Right.
because we can't see it, then you get these deniers who claim that there's not a problem with all this excess carbon dioxide when it is heating up the planet and causing all kinds of climate issues, right? So these biofarms will help to lower the impact of this excess carbon emission better than anything else. I would have to decarbonize half the buildings in Midtown Manhattan to produce as much decarbonization as one of these 100-acre biofarms.
Incredible. Absolutely. My mind's blown.
It's amazing. It's really, I waited a long time for this, and it's really all happening now. So it's also very very hopeful. I like people to know about this because there's so much doom and gloom, so much horrible crap going on in this world today. This is really 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 positive and inspiring.
I've never heard anything like this, Robert. How did do you feel as though someday we will be fueling our cars with algae biofuel?
Everything that is fueled today will be fueled by algae-based fuels instead of petroleum-based fuels. I believe.
Amazing.
I really,
Amazing.
truly, truly believe that. You want to know why? Because here's the beauty of it. The infrastructure, think about the petroleum infrastructure around the world, all over the world. All these pipes and refineries and all, right? All of that will be able to be used. We're just going to feed it with algae oil instead of petroleum oil.
Incredible. Incredible. What's going to happen to Dubai and the Middle East?
Nothing. You want to know why?
Why is
They are
that?
they are the best areas in the world to be growing these algae farms. They're going to just instead of drilling in the ground, they're going to be building biofarms. That's going to be the
Incredible. So what kind of atmosphere or what type of climates do we need in order to build these farms?
So these biofarms need to be located in warm, dry climates close to a source of salt water, whether that's the ocean or it could be underground saline aquifers that we can get the salt water from, because the algae species they're saline algae species. So the Middle East is absolutely impeccable. Look at Saudi Arabia,
Yep.
three sides of Saudi Arabia, thousands of miles of coastline. That's all desert. It's all
Incredible. It's the perfect area.
perfect area, perfect area. All throughout northern Africa, from Morocco, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, that entire area, perfect for these biofarms.
Incredible. How about the US? Do you
Southern,
see this in the
southern
US?
U.S., from the panhandle of Florida to Texas,
Okay.
and even into southern New Mexico, because there are saline aquifers in New Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not up here in New York and New England, huh?
But here's the thing. This is the beauty of this venture. So the biofarms where the oil is produced have to be in warm, dry climates. But the power plants where the generators will be that will produce the power, they can
Hmm.
be anywhere.
Incredible.
They can be in New York City. And in fact, I'm going to be bringing this eventually to the new mayor of New York City, because this could save the city hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. So you ask, how is that? We would build the generators, probably in the Bronx or whatever, right? Areas that were available. And we would ship the crude algae oil from the farms in, down south of the US, or, in Mexico. We would transport the oils to the generators. So
Incredible.
we could be doing these power purchase agreements. They're called power purchase agreements, where we're providing power, just like any power that gets generated around the world. That's what I mean. Like power gets generated like this in northern Canada. and they're shipping oil or natural gas to these power plants, right? Well,
Mhm.
instead of shipping this dirty ass fossil fuel that took millions of years to develop under the ground, and when you burn it, it gives off huge, massive amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Use the crude algae oil and the refinements of those. 100% better, 1,000% better.
I mean, mind blowing. This is a game changer. This is like, no, I mean, how come we haven't heard about this? How come we don't hear politicians talking about crude algae oil? It's,
Well, I'll tell you why. It's a fascinating story.
yeah,
About 5 years ago, ExxonMobil, they knew of the potential, and they invested $350 million in trying to commercialize crude algae oil. And what they did was they selected the approach. They're called open circulation ponds. They chose that approach that they thought was the leading of technology. That's what they invested in, and that turned out to have fatal flaws to it. Our system is, instead of these big circulating ponds, it's based on barrels, translucent barrels. So, much, much, much smarter strategy. And then along with that, the founder determined the most productive species of algae. That was critically important. So, and then they built a demonstration farm in Malaysia. It was up and running for 6 years. They have intensive third party validation for the productivity. They had 6 different oil companies come out and inspect the facility and do their diligence on it. And they got offtake agreements for $16 billion. There's offtake agreements for $16 billion from these oil companies. So it's really all starting to happen. So it took this founder to come up with this alternative strategy that actually worked, that he has a patent on, and obviously ExxonMobil failing on it. They didn't want that to get out, so they certainly didn't use their PR machine. But you will start hearing about this. Give this another. We're working on high level meetings with the governor of California, Gavin Newsom. And like I said, New York City with the new mayor, the new governor of New Jersey, who's going on and on about, the high cost of electricity. So this solves some massive, massive societal problems, not the least of which is the escalating price of electricity.
incredible. How long has it been around? When did the founder found this?
He worked on it for about 10 years before he built his biofarm. So he's probably been at this for about 15 years. The biofarm was first started 6 years ago in Malaysia, on the east coast of Malaysia. And so we were fortunate. We got in really early, when it was just really starting to take off. And so now, everything's coming along. We've got extensive protection for all the investments through an insurance wrap, through a performance bond from a world-class operator that's going to develop and maintain the biofarms. So it's really all like ready to go and starting to happen. And I think within 6 months, you're going to start hearing about these biofarms cropping up. You're going to start seeing stories probably, and in the media. And I think this is going to be transformative.
You heard it here from Robert first before everybody else did. That's awesome. So, what part of your business, Robert? Let's go back to business here. What part of your business feels like it lives or dies based on your judgment right now?
Well, I'm actually working to minimize that and starting to delegate. So I've got somebody who's kind of running our green building programming, which is really helpful. He's still, I've been doing this for 28 years. He's been doing this for 6 months. So, he, I need to be pretty close and be there every step of the way with him. But a lot of the things that I was doing before, like lead generation and following up on leads, the whole sales process, he's taking much of the sales process out of my hands, which is nice. And the biggest thing of all is that our green building upgrade program in entirety has like 50 different steps to it. And so every step makes complete sense. Every step is done in one way or the other out in in the marketplace by different players, not doing it as one cohesive total project. So this whole program really needs to be simplified, streamlined, and automated, and powered by AI. And so the build out of our AI powered proprietary platform is of the essence. It's what's going to really, really help to launch in a big way that component of our business model, because it adds demonstrable value. every step of the way. The value's there. But the complexity, thing about like with most clients, you don't want to walk them behind in the back of your kitchen. You don't want them to know how the food's being made. You just want to be delivering up the food to them, right? Well, with our programming and all the complexity of it, it's got to be like, simplified registration, right? Simplified needs assessment, and then taking them through a step by step by step by step process, right? In a really kind of leading, visually pleasing, super, automated and very powerful platform, right? Step by step. That's the big jump for our commercial real estate business is getting that platform. And as we build out the platform, to be formalizing our marketplace because we've got some amazing vendors like this algae venture is one of them. We've got others that we could be selling to the market as standalone features, products or services. But there and again, we don't have it set up properly. We don't have it officially like, in a marketplace where, somebody comes in, they register and then again, needs assessment. Then you can, all right, here's this vendor and this product, and then taking them to a kind of the essence of like a trade show, right? And, where they can be asking questions and finding out about this product. Is it a good fit for them, and then scheduling meetings with the actual, owners of the company and then the whole transaction process, right? All these things happen out there, but they happen in fractured ways and they're not happening as a whole, really smart, cohesive framework that, synergizes each step and adds value every step of the way. Right. So that's the biggest step for this company outside of the algae farms. And the idea is our algae farms are going to pay for a world-class platform. I want this platform when we grow it outright could and should be a SaaS platform for other companies doing decarbonization where they can step right in. They can use it on a SaaS basis, have access to our marketplace for all their projects. Right. So we use it for our projects. They use it for their projects. That's when I'm no longer doing 50 of the things I'm doing today. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree. Definitely. SaaS program, it sounds amazing because nobody else is doing anything like this. So it makes sense.
Yeah, listen, every team, every engineering team, building team, and property owner around the world in every large urban area has the same problem with the new world is going to be where it's going to be a growing liability to emit excess carbon emissions. Wherever you are, if you're in Hong Kong, if you're in Nairobi, if you're in London, if you're in New York, it's the same fundamental problem. How do you do that in a simplified, streamlined, and automated way that is profitable? And that's exactly what it is. That's our core offering. But without that platform and without the formalized marketplace, it's just falls short. People don't get it. They don't get, they're like, I'm way too busy to take on a learning curve. Like nobody wants a learning curve, right? You got to hand it to them. That's the big thing. It's about $500,000 to build out our platform and marketplace. And, we do have a group, waiting for me to raise the money. And that's where, I get one of these biofarms, I'll have that. And I'm working on other things also, but that'll be a big, big, big step forward for us. I even have a name for the AI component, and I can say it. I don't care. I love this name. Decarb IQ. Decarb IQ. Yeah.
Decarb IQ. That's great.
But our AI, that's what our AI mastermind component of our whole program would be. It'd be Decarb IQ. So it's driven by Decarb IQ. Your project, the upgrade, the decarbonization of your project being driven by Green Street's Decarb IQ.
That's fantastic. Love it. It works. I love it. So, Robert, tell me a little bit about your goals. So, looking ahead over the next 6 to 12 months, what are the top 2 to 3 goals that you have for Green Street Global?
So first of all, to get at least one biofarm that's where we have got the initial investment that we've used to purchase an insurance wrap, which would allow us to form our SPV company that's going to own the biofarm, and that we are then in the process of raising the green bond financing through Bloomberg on the Vienna Stock Exchange. So ultimately, I'd like to have green bond financing secured within the next 3 months. for our first biofarm. Number two is we have this amazing window membrane technology for our one of our most impactful green building products. And so we're talking to SUNY, the State University of New York. And so to get in the door with them to just be installing this window membrane technology, which is truly remarkable, it lowers heating and cooling costs by 40%. It's amazing. So to get one of those main clients, either SUNY or we're talking to the largest co-op in Manhattan. We're also talking to a large hotel group. Any one of those three, I want to get started with them with this window membrane. So that'd be number two. And then number three is I want to get a hotel acquisition done. It's an extraordinary hotel, a block away from Times Square, historic hotel. And with this hotel, we'd be able to start our first official green hotel acquisition and upgrade. So those three things is what I want to accomplish over the next, hopefully 90 days.
Excellent. And why are these priorities right now in this regulatory climate environment?
The biofarm is the key to our long-term, very, very, very strong financial foundation for the company to
I agree.
grow into a truly great global and impactful company. The window membrane is so simple and so impactful, and basically every single window in every building anywhere around the world will, and the owners of those buildings and the occupants of those buildings will benefit tremendously by this one product being installed, which is fairly simple. So the simplicity of this product for the purpose of green building upgrades and making the point about profitability, because this has like a 2-year payback. So it's profitable. It's going to increase your net operating income. So to make that point, and then the hotel. First of all, I'm passionate. If you're ever in New York, if you know New York, it's one block east of Times Square on 44th Street.
I'm actually in Connecticut.
Oh, really?
I'm right next to you.
Yeah. So this is amazing. It's like a landmark, three historic hotels on this block, and it's extraordinary. Built in 1897, just stunning. So it's on its knees. It's after COVID. So we've got a plan to rebrand it as with green in the name, and we're going to turn it into a 5-star eco luxury hotel a block away from Times Square. And we're going to be able to then implement our entire building upgrade program to demonstrate to the world how powerful this program is when we don't have a bunch of idiots at these real estate companies or these hotel companies who stymie us every step of the way and don't really support us in bringing all the value to their buildings. When we own the buildings, we're not going to have those obstructions. So that's why these three are really my target right now.
Those are outstanding. In a business like yours, Robert, where you are integrating technology, finance, vendors, and owners, what parts of your operation still feel slow or more manual than you would like them to be?
Yeah, well, everything I described that we're looking to do with our platform and our
Right?
marketplace,
Yeah,
everything,
sure.
everything from, I mean, my God, sending out NDAs. Okay, I have a virtual assistant. She does it for me. But, please, I mean, that I have to even send her the name and email address and the company name, send out this NDA. That's ridiculous. That's a simple, stupid, automated step, completely unnecessary. Onboarding of clients. Tell me, can I take you on your information? What? Come on, with the technology available today, that step, all of those steps that I'm doing, so even using spreadsheets and, kind of, you know, early thousands technology is so outmoded today. So, it's moving beyond all of this use of that last generation, like I said, 2000s between, even frankly, even Dropbox. I use a lot of Dropbox. I use a lot of spreadsheets. In a platform, you got all that taken care of. You don't need those, I mean, so that's the big thing is getting our platform and our marketplace formally built out with, at a really, really high level, implement and integrating AI to the maximum extent possible.
Incredible. Incredible. If we can wave a magic wand and make one, two, or three of those things that you just talked about, right? Spreadsheets and sending out NDAs, especially in today's day and age, right? If those areas were twice as fast and twice as smooth over the next 90 days, what would that change for you and your deals that you're working on currently? Would that be more deals, predictable pipeline, less friction for stakeholders, more time back?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's all the above.
Mm,
All
mm.
the above. So I'd be interested to see what you guys could come up with. And yeah, when you're an entrepreneur, it's an interesting thing because if you have too much money behind you, it's likely you will not ever become a great success because you won't have to go through the struggle and the pivoting and the updating and the upgrading and rethinking and all it takes to refine your initial sword into something really, really, truly great, right? That first
I love it. Yeah, for sure.
right? And yet, on the other side, if you're not capitalized enough, entrepreneurship is already really, really hard. And then to not have the financing for a lot of things like what you're talking about, which would free you up as an entrepreneur for the other things that are more important, for growth and development. It's that balance that I've experienced, both sides of anything. What are they saying about AI these days and this advanced technology? It's not that it's gonna necessarily always put people out of business. It's gonna put people who don't deploy these technologies out of business.
That's what we're here.
Anybody who's not integrating AI into their daily work life in every way that makes sense for them, it's like you're going out into the field of battle with a pistol,
Mm,
you got all these other, competitors, if you will, and they got AK-47s, man.
you're not going to survive.
You're not gonna survive.
No, we actually have a great analogy. It's like being a farmer back in the 1800s and you farmed with a plow. And then eventually your neighbor got a tractor. You
That's right.
couldn't keep up with him with the tractor. You really couldn't, right?
That's right.
You had
And
to
there's
integrate.
never been a more stark example that as AI. AI is a quantum. It's a quantum growth step. The interesting thing about AI though, the dark side is what I'm working on, which is that AI is being driven by massive data centers that take up massive amounts of power and water, and that is unsustainable. So we're working on being able to provide algae power to data
Incredible.
centers. And
Game changer.
yeah, it'll be game changers. Anyway, so
That's incredible.
yeah, that's interested to hear what you guys can offer.
Absolutely. So when you look at Green Street Global and you ask, are we winning right now? What numbers tell you that you're on track?
Well, first of all, with the biofarms, it's the level of meetings we're having. It's the number of high level investment groups that are showing interest. So that's noticeable. Much more serious discussions now, and really now access to cash, capital in various ways. That's a big part. Then, also with our green building upgrade program, we have a very high level professional, a person with a lot of years of sales experience. And so that's helping dramatically. Um, and then on the hotel side, we're working with a group out of New York that specializes in off market hotel. And so, that's helping as well.
If we were to have another Zoom 12 months from now, we're high fiving because, we had the breakout season or breakout year in Greece Street Global. What would have to happen in order for us to say this has been a game changer year for us?
All we need to do is just get one biofarm up and running. That's it. Just one. That's gonna crack open the door. We're gonna have people lining up to invest in biofarms after that.
Excellent. I'll fast track this. This has been great, Robert. Before we wrap up, two quick questions. If you can give one piece of advice to a commercial property owner, operator who knows they need to decarbonize but feels stuck on costs or complexity, what would you tell them?
Would say, give me a call or send me an email. I've been at this for 28 years. I've seen, lots and lots of bad ways expensive ways of trying to decarbonize buildings.
Mhm.
And I've worked very hard to make for a very, very smart, very profitable way of turning your liabilities into opportunities. So
Incredible.
email me, Robert at greenstreetglobal.com. The best way you can also go into LinkedIn and connect with me on LinkedIn and reach out to me and and let's strike up a conversation. And most likely after an initial meeting that we offer to folks, initial no cost consultation, we'll be able to identify some very, very smart and very profitable steps that you can take with your building to upgrade it.
Fantastic. That was my next question is where can they find you? Or, people listening, for everyone listening who wants to find Green Street Global and what you're doing around profitable decarbonation, the best place to connect with you, which you've already told us. So we'll drop those links into the show notes. Robert, thank you very much for your work and what you're doing and bringing such a clear, practical voice to intersection and stability, along with finance and commercial real estate in the allergy energy, which is incredible. I'm blown away by that.
Yep. Amazing.
Amazing, amazing. To everyone listening, this has been the AI Edge podcast with Robert on Green Street Global. If you got great value from this conversation, share it with another owner, operator, or investor who needs to hear that decarbonization can actually be profitable. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you, Robert.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Excellent.